Hi everyone, I have Michelle's account pulled up here and we are going to take a look at the aerobic endurance high cadence ramps tempo workout. So we'll pop into here and click analyze. And here we go. So you can see right here, and if you scroll down and looked at the map, this workout was done inside. Great. We can see already from the power, looking at it with the workout, everything matches really nicely. So successful Thursday. I know we've been chatting in the Facebook group and folks have been saying like, hey, I'm pretty tired. And I really feel that like this is our overreach week. This is the last, you've got just a couple more workouts between you and your taper as we head in. And I know our Queen Stage race folks, of which Michelle's one, racing coming up pretty soon. So, and for everyone really, but fatigue setting in. And so again, as much as you can think about all the good recovery pieces that we've talked about, the nutrition factors, rest, and then taking days like today moderately, that's great. Like Saturday is your day to go all out. Saturday is your day to push really hard. Today, kind of like Namrita talked about with Tuesday, this was just do the work, just get it done, get the time in, open the legs up a little bit and get ready for the weekend. So we can see here on the power, just really nails it all across the board, does the high cadence work here, and then in the tempo. And you can see a really smart choice here. So all the way through the workout, her power is sitting near the top of the zone. On each of these, starts the tempo block top of zone, and then, I don't know, maybe let's call it 5-ish minutes in, 6-ish minutes in, realizes I might need to drop that down a little bit. Drops it down, not a lot. We're talking the difference of maybe 10 watts here, but it makes a really smart choice to not sort of push this workout too hard, to keep it in the zone and to just do enough to get the work in. And so that was an excellent choice here. And then great cool down. We can pull up cadence too, and we see high cadence on the ramps. We see in the 1 minute step ups here, 108, 112, 114, 113. So really pushing some excellent high cadence. And you can see those step up on all of these. And then, the cadence here, cadence here in tempo, obviously a little bit lower than on the ramps, but still actually running quite a high cadence here in the tempo. You can see some of the dips here. Gonna guess this was times that Michelle was choosing to stand because power stays pretty steady, but you get these really low bits, and standing can be a great way, especially inside, but also outside, to break up, use some different muscles, stretch out a little bit, especially for all of you who are going to be having those long days on the saddle, with the Queen Stage race or really any of these races. They're all on gravel. They're all going to take a toll. Being able to pop out of the saddle for a bit and just move and shake out a little bit, get your butt into a different position on the saddle, that's really helpful. In addition to being able to use it on, an uphill or a surge or something like that, but just using it to stand and stretch, instead of getting off the bike or pausing, that's really useful. So good choices. See that in here a few times. Great choices to get up and stand. And we can pull up heart rate as well. And one of the things I wanted to talk about, and we can see it kind of rise through the ramps as expected, settles in really nicely in that tempo. Just really, you can see it right with the workout line, actually, that it's just very steady across this tempo work here. But one of the things I wanted to look at just a little bit was when we talk about time and zone, you might look at this and think, oh, my power was in zone 2 and 3, but my heart rate's really in zone 2. And we talk about zones not being light switches, right? Like, oh, let's see, zone 2 power at 114 watts, I'm in zone 2, and 115 watts, I'm in zone 3. And like, that's a hard and fast line. It's not that hard and fast. There is a gray area, there's a transition area, and that's true down here too. And so if we think about the heart rate zone, you can see that this heart rate zone goes from 120 to 145. When I look at the distribution chart, and this breaks it down into intervals of 5, so 140 to 145, 145 to 150, so on, I can see that actually a lot of time was spent in this 145 to 150. And if we look back over here at zone 2, we can see 145 is technically zone 2, and 146 to 150 is going to be zone 3. And so spent a lot of time kind of hanging out right in between there. So even though this looks like, oh, I spent 75% of the time in zone 2, yes, even though 46% of my power was in zone 3, but when we look a little closer, we can actually see those align a little bit more, those align a little better than these broad stroke charts first show us. So just something to point out. I've heard a couple of people talking about, power and heart rate and how they align. So again, as Namrita had said back on Tuesday, as we've said a whole bunch of times, lots of things can impact heart rate. But as you're looking at these zones and trying to break it down a little bit, this is one thing to take a peek at. And if I come back up here too, I can see when I look at this tempo, heart rate, 146, 148, 145, 144, 145, like you can see it's just sitting on the cusp there. So just wanted to mention that. Great workout for today. Really smart choice to bring that power down. Last thing I'll say is if you have a rest day tomorrow, use that rest day well. In that week 7 guide, we put out some tips. There's a checklist you can take a look at that walks through a lot of the things that you can do to get ready for Saturday. And it's the same kinds of things you would use to get ready for race day. Everything from checking your bike, prepping your nutrition, getting your kit out and ready, thinking about your hydration strategy, all those pieces, it's a good if you haven't raced in a minute, or if this isn't a race, or if this is one of your first races, even if you're an experienced racer, it's good just to go back and just kind of walk through that, like, what am I doing ahead of my big race? How am I getting ready? What is my preparation? Do I have everything dialed in the way I think I do? And then you get to Saturday and can realize, yeah, everything was there. I had exactly what I needed. Or you get to Saturday and realize, oh, shoot, I forgot X, Y, and Z. And then you don't make that mistake come race day. So again, would encourage you to take a look at that week 7 preview if you haven't, just to think about how to use Friday as a good rest day and the time off the bike to prepare for Saturday, and then how to use Saturday to put together everything from this week. So if you haven't had a chance to test your kit and your hydration and all those different things this week, still test it on Saturday. Use Saturday. This is our last big race sim. This is it. It's right here. Getting it done this weekend. After this, everything gets a little bit easier and a little bit shorter. And because of that, it gets a little bit harder to test because you're just not going to be out as long doing as hard efforts. So if you have the opportunity to, especially if you can be outside on Saturday, even if this doesn't look perfect, right? If you come into this and realize, oh, I have 30 minutes of endurance and then 20 minutes of sweet spot, but my terrain means I really want to start that sweet spot, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes earlier. Great, start your sweet spot earlier, add a little bit of extra endurance on this side of it. No big deal. So use this as a guide, use this as a way to break up the ride. But again, just a reminder, you get into these big gear, this big gear work, 5 minutes on, 2 minutes off. If you need to make it 5.5 minutes on and 3 minutes off, or 4.5 minutes on and 1 minute off, whatever you need to kind of make this work with terrain, go for it. Like, would much rather, go out and give it a try, get out, try it. The podcast that Tim and Namrita just did, they just did the second part of the Mastering Your Workouts podcast. So great tips in both the first and second part, if you want something to listen to ahead of this race sim. That's all from me. I hope you all have a great weekend. We will talk to you soon.